to deal with envy. If you're someone who feels envy, and if you're someone who has to deal with other people being envious, we have this concept in the self-help field, in self-development, which is to do the opposite of your negative emotion. So when you're feeling depressed, you feel like staying in bed and being inactive, but by doing the opposite, it changes your state. So if you feel depressed and you want to stay in bed, you don't want to go out, you don't want to be physically active, you don't want to meet people, but doing the opposite actually changes that emotion. So going out, going to the gym, meeting people that you don't, when you don't feel like meeting people, that will change that depressive emotion. And so the same can be said about envy. When you feel envy, you want to take, and you want to exploit, or you want to bring other people down. So instead, what you do is you do the opposite of that. Instead of desiring downfall, desire and send them goodwill and good wishes, and pray. It's even to the point that when you feel envy, pray for that person. Pray that the blessing that you want, that God increases them in that blessing. You might not want to do that, but it's the way to remove envy from your heart, by desiring more for them. And by wishing abundance on them, you're actually removing envy. There's this idea that we have about emotions, which is that emotions control us and that we don't control emotions. The reality is we can control our emotions. Sometimes emotions can crop up without us wanting to feel that, and sometimes it's directing us on what we should do. So they say that when you feel envy, that is telling you where you need to improve on. But putting that aside, that feeling of envy does not mean that you need to act on that emotion. Acting on the emotion is your choice. Trying to bring other people down, wishing bad will on them, wishing that they were removed of this blessing, that is now acting on your envy. But when you feel envy and when that emotion crops up, if you force yourself to make a prayer for them, that is you not acting on your emotions. And that is where you have the choice. In the same manner that we want to manifest good things in our life, we can manifest good things for other people by desiring it for them. And so that is a way that people who are envy can deal with their envious nature. And I think slowly it might get rid of that envious nature that you have. And the second advice I wanted to give was to people who are the target of envy. When you are the target of envy, the best thing you can do is ignore it and continue to stay focused on yourself. People who envy you, they don't really envy the hard work, but they're envying the end result. But you continue doing the hard work. You continue putting the hard work, and don't let them drag you down to the drama. Don't let them drag you down to their level. They want your energy, but you're not going to give them your energy or your attention. You're going to see it, and you're just going to, it's not to say ignore it. You can still address it, but don't allow them to distract you away from your goal. And I think that is what happens when people are trying to work on a goal. They'll come across envy from other people, and they start to focus, or they start to get distracted by that person who's envious of them, and give them their time and energy, like it's worth it, like they could do something to change that person, or like it's going to be any beneficial to them to engage with that envy. But the best thing you can do is stay focused. That will annoy them even more, because they want your energy, they want your attention. So it's best to just stay focused and stay committed to your goals and to your growth. Let them envy, and those people who remain focused, the envy just becomes background noise. It doesn't become something, you see it, you experience it, but it doesn't distract you away from your goal. And that is the best way to deal with the envy of others. Don't let them bring you down to their level. That isn't to say to ignore what they're doing and to not address it, but it is to not put too much energy into it.